is hard to give an answer to, because really the numbers are all over the board. The 2017 edition of the annual CMO survey that was conducted by Duke University and Deloitte and the American Marketing Association, they found that the average business spends around 7% of total company revenues on marketing. So that was kind of one stat that I found. The US Small Business Administration, they recommend spending between 7 to 8% of your gross revenues for marketing and advertising. For those organizations that are receiving less or doing less than $5 million a year in sales. So that was a kind of another. So that's kind of in line, around 8%. There's some marketing experts that are out there that suggest that startups and small businesses allocate between 2 and 3% of gross revenues for marketing and advertising, while there's other marketing experts that suggest, kind of a much broader, wider range, anywhere from 1 to 10% or more, depending on how long the business has been around and how competitive your market is. So I actually went to my LinkedIn and I put a poll on there and just asked the question, maybe you saw it if you're connected to me on LinkedIn, on, how much do you as a business owner or marketing manager allocate your marketing budget if you have one? And I found that 20%, their marketing budget was between 0 and 5% of their gross revenues that they spent on marketing. There was 45% that spend between 6 and 10%, and then 35% said they spend between 11 and 15%. So again, we're all over the board in terms of what companies are allocating for a marketing budget. But really at the end of the day, a couple of things that you want to keep in mind if you're trying to set a marketing budget for yourself. Obviously, first we need to determine what your gross revenues are. We need to make sure there's money coming in that we can allocate towards marketing. But then secondly, really how long have you been in business? So if you are a startup, you would be, classified as maybe 5 years and under in terms of business, or are you a more established MSP and you've been in business for 5 years or more? Because typically new businesses, so that the startups, they should actually be the ones that are allocating a higher percentage of their gross revenues to marketing, because really they're the ones that are trying to go out there. They're trying to establish their brand. They're trying to gain customers, because at this point, businesses don't know that you exist, and word of mouth can really only do so much. So marketing should be a major focus for the younger companies, in order to, attract the new leads, bring them on, and get them to know and make them aware of your business. And then once your brand is established and you've started having the market share, you can then look at maybe reviewing what you're spending on marketing to see if maybe you can reduce your budget. So for new companies, anything around 12 to 15% of your gross revenues is what I've kind of seen, and heard of, from my poll, should be allocated to marketing. For established companies, again, they probably could get away with having a lower budget because they don't need to market as heavily. They have their loyal base of customers who are hopefully not really going anywhere. So not to say that they don't need to market, but they just probably don't need to allocate as many resources as a small company does. So for established companies, anything around, 6 to maybe 12% of your gross revenue should be allocated. So unfortunately, I can't, great question. I can't really give kind of that magic number, but, because all companies are a little bit different with different priorities, but I really do hope that that helps as kind of a starting point.